Hi, welcome to Arts in Exile. I'm Friday. First up, we're going to see Myron and Anita Poulier doing Interior with an accordion.
And now we are going to have Janet Newalder with Invisible Abundance.
We have Jennifer Kelly and her poem, Sugar.
And featured tonight also is a songsmith, Henry Stewart.
Also, Kevin Carman and his poem, Need.
And now we have a film by Ethan Messaker, This Is My House.
Mary Kay Rummel with Mother Goddess on a Throne.
And now, on with the show.
And on with the show.
Interior, crocodile, alligator, alligator. I drive a Chevrolet, movie theater, movie theater.
I started doing art continuously at age 12 and realized I loved it. Took my first clay class with a teacher that looked like Joan Baez and was going through a divorce, and it was the 70s, and really connected with her and was signed up for the class by my mother. Did not want to go, got very mad at her, yelled at her, and then when she picked me up on time, I yelled at her for picking me up on time. So I really was found a connection with the material at an early age. I want to create literally almost like a fossil. What's interesting about the way I've been working with clay is I'm taking actual natural elements and embedding them with liquid clay. So if it's a natural material, the clay actually goes into the matrix of the natural material. Say a leaf, almost like a sponge absorbs liquid. And then when you fire it, it's like an accelerated aging process, like a fossilization process. And what comes out looks like what it was, it's just hardened. And so a lot of times that actual process of sort of fossilizing something, to me, has a lot of implications and then gets my mind wandering other places, like, okay, I've made this fossilized book. Well, book of what? Book to what? Sometimes it might begin with a poem or a collection of poems like Neruda's Stones of the Sky. I absolutely love, just the idea of these love poems to the earth. It's like we should read them every day. We should have gratitude for that. And I think of that, when I read, say, Neruda poems, the words, the language, trying to describe, say, topaz, and the timelessness of that, and that encapsulating of millennia, and then describing the color and the feeling and sort of the thread of where that goes and how that connects with us. And then sort of create a work based on sort of an homage to, say, a color, cobalt or indigo. And so I did a suite of 9 forms called Ode to Indigo, and they were sort of meditations. Almost like, you might have stanzas or sonnets and sort of a meditation in that way. Sometimes they're large-scale wall installations where ceramic elements are created, and some of them have acrylic hangers, so parts are connected to these acrylic rods and screwed directly into the wall. Sometimes they're in free-form arrangements. Maybe I've been looking at the cosmos and images from the Hubble spacecraft telescope, so I've been looking at the Veil Nebula and trying to not really recreate it, but get sort of the feeling of that fluttery flight and the light and the wonder of it all. And other times they are collections of objects with painted perimeters. So there might be a 20-foot funnel-like form and all the painted on the wall. in a contrasting color, and all the objects are literally filling that 20-foot form and just sort of cascading down the wall. My German grandmother, my Großmutter, she was interesting. She did fashion illustration for a local fashion house in Vienna. So we have her original illustrations from 1919, quite remarkable. The actual image of the Veil Nebula, what does it look like? You know, what's involved? You know, how would I make something from that? And sometimes I know paper-thin sheets of porcelain, something that flutters, feeling of flight, translucency, delicacy. You know, so delicate when I stall it, I almost break it. You know, I love that. You know, it's material, but it's not ephemeral. Certainly it's not. It's material, but it has that feeling of fragility and flight. My grandfather's sister went to Kyoto, Japan in 1919 and studied ceramics with a Japanese family. So there's pictures of this tall Austrian woman with this Japanese family in 1919, and she actually worked at the Wiener Werkstätte, which is interesting. And so I have a figure of hers, it's almost like an elongated, seated on a base, Mondigliani type figure, nude. And so it's in my legacy. Clay, who knew 1919? And my Japanese grandfather was a kind of a prominent Japanese-American architect who did a lot with, he worked some with the military. Actually, he and my mother and aunt were interred in the Japanese-American camp Topaz in Utah. So he actually helped build the camp. I might systematically be doing something, you know, ripping telephone books into shards so that I can smear clay on each piece of paper, because I don't like to make one big sheet and just smash it. That's different than the care of each individual one, and the individuality and the anomalies that might not happen because of that. Because after 100, I'm not really smearing it adequately, so I'm going to get little openings and passages, and some look more lacy and some look more tattered. And you know, so those are the things that when they come out of the kiln, I notice, and it brings me back. And for me, what I realized is that's really what keeps me back and keeps me interested. So I don't always need to know where I'm going, but I need some sort of beacon. And it could be the smallest little fragment crumb that, you know, broke off of something. Or it could be, again, something I've started in the studio and I'm listening to NPR or flipping through a magazine or looking down at the sidewalk and I see something and it triggers. So there's a lot of things that are out there. We just don't know what to notice, so we need to try to be present because we never know what's important.
Sugar. The night you died, I whispered words to you without sound. I did not move my lips, but drove them home into the keyboard where I had root. Shaky hands, like those that massaged your feet and cut your nails in the end. Shaky hands that reach for you in the hospital bed, your skin so thin and shiny where it stretched over your bones. There were things that I needed to say to you. Words that I wanted just between the two of us. But as I started to type, I could feel myself performing, thinking about reading something like this at the funeral, in some public declaration of my love. I wanted you to know, just you. This wasn't something for display, but I could feel my mind twisting, running, betraying me. I stopped, took a breath, and opened up a blank and worthy screen. Dear Grandma, the words came. Dear Grandma, then all the things I wished I'd said, all those memories held tight in my fists, needing release. I didn't hold back, not with the emotion, not between the two of us, where nothing had been withheld before the dementia. I prayed to your God and mine that you would be at peace. I prayed to your God and mine that you had found wholeness. I prayed to your God and mine that there had been redemption from suffering. I wanted so much for you. Then I tore it up into dozens of unreadable pieces, deleted the file, and held those pieces tight in my cupped hands like a prayer. Me, your supplicant. I had found a pretty jar solely for this act, one with a lid from the aisle of a thrift shop. Later, I found out it was a sugar jar, which was the perfect home for you, because that's what you had always called me, sugar. That's what you were to me, always a little extra sweetness when I reached for you, always a little salvation from the bitterness. I tucked the pieces inside, glued down the lid, gentled you onto the altar in my entryway, kissed your olive green shine, held it close for the first of many times, held you close for the last. These days the lid has loosened. I no longer need to keep it sealed. But loose, it craves air, craves talking about, so that I might inhale that self-same smell that always greeted me in your space. Mix of baby powder, cooking grease, and musky perfume. I imagine that I can breathe you in, 6 years dead and buried in the ground. I imagine your hand on my shoulder, or your willow whip wit over a game of cards. I imagine Christmas Eve in your living room, handing out presents and cookies. I recall so many things. They are always and never you. But they remind me that you reside in my memory, in my amygdala, with my instincts, like the one to crave safety, like the one to run or cling. They remind me that you will always be that thing I cleave to, that I breathe in and feel. The old lady at the end, the one without the memory, the one with that forked tongue and death wish. I am reminded that she wasn't you to me. So I press my hands against the glimpse of memory, the heart of my heart, and remember the before times when we played in your orchards and laid beneath your shade trees. You were always a landscape. You were always a place as well as a woman. Did you know that? I hope I told you. 1,000,000 times over the green polyester tablecloth. I hope you knew.
Broken every last promise I made when I was honestly trying to give you everything you asked. Now I'm picking up the pieces, walk alone on empty better from a distance, lying low and looking winsome, slightly out of focus in the early morning mist. Lens was scratched and dusty, photo slightly musty as the days stretched to erase the edges of the print. Our bed is looking lonely, the candlesticks are empty. Most nights I end up sleeping on the couch. Sometimes I hear the echo of your voice come down the hallway, the patter of your feet fresh from the bath. We were better from a distance, lying low and looking winsome, slightly out of focus in the early morning mist. Lens was scratched and dusty, photos slightly musty as the days ache to erase the edges of the print. Broken every last promise I made when I was honestly trying to give you everything you asked. The sky's turning golden, just hope that you are holding on to someone warm and tightly as you can. Someone warm and tightly as you can.
Need, 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 need. Take heed of need. Need needs no numbers. Need needs no names. No knot, no net, no noose needs need. Need needs nothing. No, never, not need. I need a code word for the afterlife. Ready, in effect, before conscious thought takes over, before a wrong action from a good intention occurs. A selfish sacrifice when you know there is something to gain, like the moon and the planets, or a bicycle wheel, a wooden arrow, or a hard piece of steel. I need a transformer so I can be transmogrified, so I can be gentrified, so I can be Fonzie and follow the vessel, the star of my sleeping sky, my muse when the eyes are open. I need a telepathicary to show me what is right in front of me, to show me what I choose not to see or who to believe, like the priests of my youth whose fingers were loose, who supposedly only live for the truth. I don't believe in anything. I'd trade it all in for a cup of tea. I believe in everything. It's just not that important to me. It's just that it's not open to me. It's closed from some form of conspiracy, some evil plan to control me, entrap, ensnare, and enroll me at 21% annually. Sometimes I need a bad dream, like the memory of a slee stack, or a broken bell's crackled yell, an earthquake chasm straight to hell, and I fight to keep my feet above the ground. I fight to remember to breathe, to see beyond the pollution of light, beyond the delusion of might, beyond the glare of awareness. I need to be a part of something bigger than myself, something bigger than I can do with this body, bigger than the bloom of my self-importance, deeper than the first visual symbol of a word, to the primal lingual taproot, the greatest gambler's crapshoot, the golden egg, the sacred journey home, the meandering river, the writhing snake. I need to coil and strike while the iron is hot, under the golden arches, preaching the real thing to a deregulation nation on unleaded embediments with psychic impediments. I need to get rid of time. I need to regulate entropy. I need to reconcile private property. I need to face what I want to hide from. I need to seek the truth at whatever the cost. I need to believe that the ideal can become real. I need to overcome my fear of death. I need to know that I will never know, and it's okay for me to let go. I need to sit and do nothing.
What are you doing in my house?
Your house? This is my house.
No, this is my house.
Are you certain?
Look, I don't know who you are, but if you don't get out of here right now, I'm going to...
You're going to what? Call the police? All right. According to you, this is your house. But what if it's my house and you're the one trespassing?
What?
You're going to call and tell them, this is my house. But if I tell them that it's my house, well, that complicates things now, doesn't it? I mean, which one of us is telling the truth? Who's to say?
Listen, I'm calling them right now, and they'll know that it's mine because I have bills at this address. I have proof of residence.
Proof of residence. Well, that's not too hard to fake, is it? Driver's licenses and pieces of mail. I have one of each right here.
That's my address. How did you...
How did you? That's what I'll ask the police. Who do you think they'll believe?
Who are you?
Who are you? Do you know? What's your name?
Thelma.
Is it though?
Yes.
But again, who's to really say? Yes, hello. There's a woman who's just broken into my home. Please come quick.
This is my house.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Would you like a donut? Yes.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. It's always nice to have guests.
Finding her, Mother Goddess on her throne, 5750 BC. A statuette in the Museum of Anatolian Civilizations. No more than terracotta, warmed earth smell, her thick body on a little clay throne. Breasts like large loaves, buttocks like melons, flanked on each side by lion animals, her hands, their heads, a melding of woman and beast. Her taut belly protrudes, a child's head emerges from between her thighs. Paleolithic Mother Goddess, thunder heart of the earth, of us all. Before Aphrodite, older than Artemis, her face lifts as she listens to her own music, hair piled on her head, small nose, enduring mouth. She is for walking through sage, heat, locusts, war. Her gravity reminds me of my great-grandmother Josephine in an old portrait, black Irish hair coiled, wine-dark eyes, body shaped like a hive. Both found whole, surrounded by ancient fragments of a puzzle, humming an ancient note. Listen, they say. Do you want to hear all the women resting inside us, in dirt, rock, chant, darkness? I have traveled so far to find her memory.
Well, I certainly hope you've enjoyed the show, and we will see you next time.
Our bed is looking lonely. Candlesticks are empty. Most nights I end up sleeping on the couch. Sometimes I hear the echo of your voice come down the hallway. The patter of your feet fresh from the bath. We were better from a distance, lying low and looking winsome, slightly